welcome to our kitchen. I'm Vanessa, this is my husband Jeff, and this is Mayhugh Party of Seven.
So what is Mayhugh Party of Seven?
It's a cooking show
It's a cooking show?
that highlights on us having 5 kids, 2 dogs and a cat, and wanting to bring restaurant quality food from our table to your table.
Right. And not only that, but we want to be able to show you how to make really good food in large amounts and be able to repurpose them throughout the week as leftovers so you're not coming home and having to cook every single night. I don't know about your kids, but our kids don't like to eat leftovers. So what we like to do is to repurpose those leftovers into what appears to be completely different meals. So today, we're making chili. And we're going to show you how to make a chili mac, because tomorrow, 2 of our 5 kids are turning
4 years old.
4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. They're twins, there's 2 of them, it's crazy. They don't like chili, but all of our guests like chili, so that's the best part, right?
Yeah, we are going to do like an alternative for them. We're going to get some pizza, but for our guests, we figured that chili mac makes the most sense.
Yeah, it's cold, it's a little rainy, it's November, you know, everybody likes a nice, good chili in the fall, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with making the chili, and this is really simple. You can see all of our ingredients here. We've already browned off the meat. Important when you're browning off the meat, take your time, patience, salt, pepper, Worcestershire. I like to pre-season my meat, cook the meat, season the meat again, cook the meat some more, season the meat again. If you watch the show, you'll get that theme, salt, pepper, throughout the meal consistently. You have to layer your flavors. So the meat's browned off, and then what do we have here?
So what we did is we diced up 2 white onions. We took 5 jalapeno peppers and 3 poblano peppers. And what we did is we put them on the grill pan. We got a good char on them after coring them and seeding them. And from there, we kind of put them into our food processor and we minced them. So instead of standing in front of a cutting board and chopping these up finely, we did the food processor and it did the job for us.
Saves a lot of time, and I don't know, again, kids are very picky, and they might not mind the flavor of the jalapeno and the poblano in the chili, but getting big, thick pieces of them, especially if they're not really soft, then the texture of it. Texture is really important in food, and what you see is really important for kids when they eat. So if they don't see it as much, they're much less likely to complain about it. That's what I've noticed with cooking for my kids.
Yeah. And then we just have canned tomato sauce, crushed tomatoes, and then Jeff will kind of go into his mixture of seasonings.
So seasoning-wise, we've got chili powder, of course. You can't make chili without chili powder. Cumin, paprika, garlic powder, and I like a little bit of sugar. And then, obviously, salt and pepper, salt and pepper, salt and pepper, over and over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we can get started, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's get started.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and just put the chili together. So we've already browned off our meat. We're going to go ahead and add our onion. Woo! We're going to add our jalapeno. And by charring the jalapeno, you're going to release a lot of the juice. It's just going to add more flavor. Same thing with the poblanos we're going to add. Oh, they smell so good. It's one of my favorite parts about cooking is the smell. And of course, our seasoning, right? You can't have chili without chili powder. And our tomatoes. Tomato sauce, I'm just gonna pour this in. Like I mentioned before, we've got the heat on medium to low. We're gonna let this sit and simmer after we add everything in and stir it together. So easy. You're just throwing everything in a pot together, stirring it around. Oh, can't forget our sugar. Kids love a little sweet. Now, you can obviously adjust this recipe to fit your family. Maybe your family likes spicier food. Red chili flakes would work really well in here. I've done that in my chili before. You could not deseed the jalapenos. That's going to bring a lot of spice. You can certainly put habanero, there's lots of different things. So, once you get this all stirred around, you're just gonna let it sit, and then in a few hours, we are gonna have delicious chili that's gonna be versatile. Now this is a big controversy, and you'll notice our chili doesn't have beans, because chili doesn't have beans. And I will die on that hill, people. I will die on that hill. And the reason that chili doesn't have beans is so you can use it on your chili cheese fries, on your nachos, on your hot dogs, and then you don't have those beans falling out of the way. Now you can certainly put beans in your chili, but that dish is called chili with beans. It is not called chili. And today, we're making just chili, all right? So we're gonna stir this up, and then we're gonna get started on our cheese sauce.
All right, guys, it's cheese sauce time. It's my favorite part. So what we're doing now in our pot is we're putting a roux together. We use 4 tablespoons of butter and then 2 tablespoons of flour. So we've melted down the butter completely. Jeff is going to add the flour. He's going to whisk it together. He's going to make sure that there are no lumps. When you're making a roux, you do not want lumps. It will make your sauce nasty and gritty and just really overall not a good taste on your palate. So after he has whisked the flour and butter together, we're going to add our liquid element. And today we're going to use a quart of heavy cream and a quart of half and half. And it's really important that when you're trying to put your roux together, that you temper that milk, because one's going to be warmer than the other, and if you're not careful enough, you will break your roux. Now there are lots of hacks out there that will teach you how to get your roux back together, but I don't recommend trying to do that.
It's not easy to put a roux back together.
Yeah, it's not easy. Once it's broke, it's broke.
It's like putting a Humpty Dumpty back together on the wall, right?
Yeah. They were able to glue them together though.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took a long time.
It was never the same again though.
No. So now that we've added our liquid to our roux, the next step is a little tough. You have to allow everything in the pot to become the same temperature, to get warm. Because the next step would be to add the cheese to the sauce. And if everything's not at the right temperature, the cheese is not going to melt, and you're not going to get that smooth, silky consistency that everybody wants and everybody sees on other cooking shows or, you know, on the Velveeta commercials where it's, you know, you're scooping up the mac and cheese and it's really ooey gooey.
Oh,
you
those
have to
are
be very
the
patient
best.
with it.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do now, we've got everything stirred together, and we're just gonna let that get warm. So we'll check back here in a few minutes and we'll be able to add our cheese. All right, so our milk and roux mixture is warm, and now we're gonna add the cheeses.
Okay, so when it comes to cheese sauce, you can virtually choose any cheese. Our choice of cheese today is going to be Fontina.
Yeah.
Fontina is very creamy, milky, smooth, adds a great depth of flavor to the sauce that we're using, that we're making. We're then going to be using pepper jack because we do want a little bit of spice in there, but not too much, not overpowering anything. And we did about a bark of it, right? Like a block of it,
A bark?
a block of cheese.
A bark? This cheese bark?
People call it bark, block.
People call it bark?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then we did a mixture of white cheddar and then just cheddar cheese. In this case, we wanted to have like a really deep cheddary, ooey gooey flavor. So we did 1 block of regular cheddar, and then we did a block and a half of the white cheddar.
And I like the white cheddar because it's a little bit saltier, and I like salt. She likes salt. It's a good flavor to have in your food. So that's why we did so much of the white cheddar. And when you're making a cheese sauce, now if you've ever done a cheese sauce and it's ended up gritty and you're like, what is going on? Part of that is the cheese that you buy. So while our menu is budget friendly, you do have to spend a little bit more money when you're picking out your cheeses. You can't just go buy any cheese. You need to buy nicer cheeses. We got our cheeses at Wegmans, the Wegmans brand, but not the bottom line. You have to go like the medium level, so it's not gritty. Processed cheese does have grittiness to it.
Yes.
And then, what's our last cheese here?
This is the secret. This is the secret. Not a lot of people know this. However, in order to retain the silky, ooey gooey cheese sauce that you want, Velveeta. You add Velveeta to the sauce, and something in it just helps keep the cheese from turning gritty and nasty or breaking. It congeals it all together.
It helps it keep it smooth. Yeah. It's already a processed cheese. I mean, basically what Velveeta is already a cheese sauce that's been cooled and then sold to you. So it cuts out on a little bit and saves some money, because if I was to buy a lot more of the cheddar to make this, it would cost me a lot more. So, and it doesn't really affect the flavor that much. And it also brings some color to it, because we're using a lot of white cheddar. Most people think of a cheese sauce of being, like a cheese color, yellow or orange, and not white. So that way we have nice color. Color is important when you're cooking for kids. They really like that, so that's why we do it. All right, so I think this cheese sauce is going to be delicious. So now we just kind of stir, let everything melt together, and then in a little bit we'll be ready to put together our chili mac. All right, we are ready to make our chili mac. Okay, so this is really awesome. So this is our cheese sauce. Now this is one that we had pre-made, same recipe that we did before. See how delicious, even when it's cold. See how ooey gooey it is? So all we're gonna do is we're gonna take this cheese sauce and we're gonna throw it into our just freshly cooked noodles. We're not even gonna have to heat up the cheese sauce because the pan and the noodles are so hot. We're just gonna throw it in. If you've ever made Velveeta like mac and cheese, it's essentially what you're doing here. A little bit more. We like lots of cheese for our mac and cheese. Now, for this recipe, we used 2.5 cups of pasta shells. Okay, we're gonna add this, and baby, would you mind getting me the salt and pepper?
Yep.
You gotta have salt and pepper. So we're gonna get this all added up, and take a look at this. Ooh yeah! Look at that ooey gooey deliciousness. So, and then we're gonna, like I said, salt and pepper all the way throughout the meal. You remember, we used a saltier cheese, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't still need a little bit of salt and pepper in it. Layering flavors in cooking is important, okay? So once we do that, we're going to get this up here, and we're just gonna put our chili mac together. So I'm gonna go ahead and add the shells in, while Vanessa is going to add the chili for us. Ooh, this looks good. All right, that's good. She's gonna add the chili, and then over here, this is cornbread. These are cornbread muffins that Vanessa had made. It's it's just a box mix.
Yeah, it's just Jiffy Mix.
Jiffy Mix. She doctors it up a little bit of.
I added honey, a little bit of melted butter into it. Like with anything, out of a box, you kind of have to do trial and error and figure out what makes sense to you and your family. And like some people like a really cornmeal-like consistency. Some like a little bit sweeter. We tend to like it just a tad bit sweeter.
Especially if you're gonna put it in chili, like we are. So we just broke up this, and then we're just gonna cover our chili mac with the cornbread. Now, this is something that I came up with because of our oldest son, Gabriel. I had made chili, and Vanessa had made the cornbread. And typically, I put sour cream and crackers in my chili. And Gabriel forgoed the crackers, and he put his cornbread right in there. And I was like, you know what? That's a pretty solid idea. So I tried it, and it turns out way better than crackers. So thanks to Gabriel, we came up with this recipe here. So we're just gonna cover this up, get a nice little dusting on there. The sweetness from the cornbread is really gonna go well with the cheese and the chili. So once you do that, we're gonna take this, get you a good look here, how delicious that looks. You like my shirt, girl dad? Too many girls in this house, right, Vanessa? And then we're just gonna throw it here in our oven at 350 degrees.
Just want to get a little bit of toastiness on the cornbread.
Yeah, we're gonna let it go for about 10 minutes, make sure everything's warm throughout, and then we will be able to taste it. I can't wait, it's gonna be so good.
Smells and looks delicious.
All right, guys, here it is, the moment of truth. So we've got our chili mac out of the oven, and it cooked, and look at that. It's so delicious looking. So we're gonna taste it and see how it is. I like to stir mine around a little bit, get the cornbread kind of mixed throughout, and make sure I get some shells and some chili, and we know it's gonna be hot, so don't burn your mouth. It's so good. I love this meal. It's such a good meal. Especially when it's cold outside. The kids are gonna love this tomorrow, except for the girls.
They might surprise us.
Oh man.
Really yummy.
So the first time Vanessa and I made this, and normally when Vanessa and I eat alone in quiet like this, it's what, like 8, 9 o'clock at night. It's the only time you really get that's peaceful as parents. I think most of you can relate. You get your kids in bed, and then you try to enjoy your time without your children. Kind of what life was like before you had kids. Maybe a little date. We like to have good food. We like to go out. We can't, so we make it at home for ourselves. That's where we do a lot of our experimenting, coming up with our good recipes for our kids and for ourselves. So I'm gonna enjoy this. It's so good.
It's pretty tasty.
And hopefully we'll be able to keep on doing this and share some more recipes with you in the future.
All right, see you next time.
That's how Mama eats right there. She's being all dainty when she thought the camera was rolling, but do one for me like you used to do it. Remember when we were dating? Remember when we were dating?